Hey friends, before we jump in, I just have to ask a quick question. When is the last time you looked under the hood of your funnel? If your opt-ins are stalling, your emails are not getting opened, or your offers just aren't converting, chances are there's something in your funnel that's broken. But the good news is you don't have to figure it out alone. Hallelujah. I am offering a free 20-minute funnel audit where I'll look at one funnel in your business and help you spot what's not working and what to fix first. There's no fluff, there's no pressure, just honest feedback and a clear next step. You can go grab your spot at jantouchberry.com/funnel. That's jantouchberry.com/funnel. Now let's get to the episode. Hey friends, welcome to the podcast. If you're new to Her Faith at Work, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that you found us. And today we are not going to wade into the shallow end. What do you do when your funnel is clean, your copy is punchy, your lead magnet has been upgraded, and your systems seem to be humming along, but the sales, they still are not coming. The growth, nowhere to be found. And you're still sitting there wondering, what the heck am I supposed to do? I feel like I'm doing it all. This episode is for the woman who's done the work and still isn't seeing the results. We're going to talk about what it looks like when strategy meets obedience. I want you to consider a few things. Sometimes the harvest is delayed. Sometimes there's a deeper root growing. And sometimes you're just using the "I'm waiting on God" as your excuse to avoid facing what actually needs to shift. We're going to sort that out today, okay? Let's go. Truth time. When's the last time you raised your hands for a swift kick in the pants? Well, I'm the no-nonsense type friend who's going to tell you when you have food in your teeth. So let's get right to it. This is your infusion of sacred and secular, calling you higher into who God created you to be, exploring how intimately faith applies to every part of your life, and how you can live that faith every single day in the marketplace. I felt the tension of separation of church and state. I've been one of the few women at a table of men for decades, and I've stood my ground. Are you ready to do the same? These tools, resources, and interviews are meant to do just that. I'm Jan Touchberry, and it's time to share Her Faith at Work. All right, let's start with the biggest tension point, I think, in kingdom business. Just because it's slow does not mean you're disobedient, but also just because you started in obedience doesn't mean you stayed in alignment. Here's what I mean. God can call you to something and you say yes, but somewhere along the way you shift into striving mode. You pick up somebody else's strategy. You stop asking the Lord for what's next. You white knuckle the vision instead of holding it with open hands. And now it's not his blueprint anymore. It's yours. It kind of reminds me of the story of Moses in the Old Testament. Generally, I'd say he's considered one of the best leaders in the Bible, but he did have his issues. Obedience was periodically one of them. In Exodus chapter 17, you might remember the story. The people he leads, called the Israelites, are thirsty and whiny. But to be fair, they're whiny a lot. So God tells him to strike a rock twice, and water came out, and everybody drank all they wanted, and they were able to save their livestock. And then in Numbers chapter 20, the people are thirsty and whiny yet again. Moses is really frustrated. So instead of listening to what God told him to do, which was to speak to the rock, he fell into the same pattern of what worked before, and he struck the rock again. His disobedience and lack of listening to the direction of the Lord kept him from his promised land. Is your lack of listening keeping you from yours? And then sometimes you are aligned. You're building what he's asked you to build, but it's just not time yet. He's saying, wait. And this is where trust comes in, okay? So let's break this down. There are some ways to know if you're in a God-ordained delay, some signs, if you will. One could be that you still feel a deep sense of peace about the direction that you're going, even when it's quiet. Maybe there's no fruit yet, but there's been confirmation. Maybe you have a word, an open door, someone blessed by your obedience, and you're not striving. You're just showing up faithfully, and there's still that peace. Okay? That could mean that you're in a God ordained delay of sorts. Now, there are also some signs when you're walking in disobedience, even if it's unintentional. Okay? Maybe you're forcing an outcome that you were not called to chase. You're feeling exhausted and anxious and disconnected from God. That's a key. Okay? Maybe you're stuck in confusion and resentment because you haven't stopped to recalibrate. Confusion and resentment are not from the Lord. And so if you're feeling those things, it's time to take a pause and decipher with the Lord if you're still in alignment with Him or if you're walking in disobedience. Listen, I have lived in both of those worlds. And here's what I know: God will not bless what we've built in disobedience, no matter how good it looks on paper. So if you're in a dry place, maybe it's time for a little listening session. Ask the Lord, am I in a God ordained pause? Or am I trying to sustain something that I've created without you, God? I don't know about you, but I would much rather be in the first category than the second. Now, it's time for us to put our CEO hats on for a minute. Even if you're walking in obedience, if you're using outdated marketing tactics and ignoring current behavior patterns, you're going to feel stuck. The truth is, marketing changes, buyer behavior shifts. What worked in 2021 or even 2024 might be flopping in 2025. And that doesn't mean that your calling is wrong. It might mean that your methods need to evolve. Are your email open rates down? You might need better subject lines. I did a whole podcast on that a few weeks ago with a ton of great tips. Check out episode 73 for all of that. Maybe people aren't downloading your freebie. Well, it could be because it's too vague or not urgent enough and they don't know why they need it. That would be episode 74. Maybe your discovery calls are dry. Well, your message might not be landing, or your audience has moved on. All right, episode 75 for that one. This is not failure, this is growth. These are normal things that happen in the life of a business, okay? But it also requires you to stay a student. I have a friend who calls me Triple L because I am the consummate lifelong learner. But what that means is that you have to be in a place where you can humbly ask, what do I need to unlearn? And where am I assuming that I've mastered something that actually needs attention? God calls us to steward our work with excellence, not autopilot. Y'all know I'm a fan of automation. Automation is great, but every once in a while, even the best automation needs a good scrub. If you haven't taken a course or had a coach or gotten feedback in the last 12 months, it might be time. Because guess what? Obedience does not mean stagnation. It means continual calibration with the Holy Spirit and with your market. And yes, the two can coexist. You can be spirit-led and strategy smart at the same time. So I want to talk about something that most entrepreneurs don't want to admit. You are too close to your own stuff. It's like trying to smell your own breath. You think you're fine until somebody else tells you, girl, you need a mint. We all have blind spots. If I've said it once, I've said it 100 times. We are too close to our own genius. You might be doing 90% right, but that 10% you can't see, that's what's keeping you stuck. Maybe your copy is too clever. You think it's awesome. Well, it's awesomely clever, but it's not clear. Maybe your automation is glitching. I have had this issue more times than I can count. And I thank God for my friends who will tell me that it's off, right? You have to have another set of eyes. Or maybe your audience has shifted, but your messaging just hasn't caught up. It's because you're not paying attention. You have to have feedback. You have to have feedback from a coach. Maybe it's a peer. Maybe it's even a beta tester who fits into your ideal audience. Man, those people are invaluable to you as a business owner. Ask them, would this stop your scroll? Or does this sound like it's for you? Or where did you lose interest in the process? Constructive feedback can hurt a little bit, but I'm telling you, I promise that outside perspective, getting that is not a weakness. It is wisdom. Wisdom. Here's your pro tip. This is exactly why I offer funnel optimization sessions. Okay. You are not lazy. You just need that second set of eyes. And I would love to be that for you. So you can find that 20-minute free strategy session for your funnel at jantouchberry.com/funnel. All right. I don't think it would be a well-rounded podcast if we didn't address the seasonal issue. I know people are thinking it, so I'm just going to talk about it for a minute. You have to ask yourself, is this a natural slump? Is this a seasonal slump? There are times in the year that you could put on your calendar and you're going to know that it's just going to be slower. Summer's one of them. And then around the holidays, hello, you just need to plan for them. So, is this a summer slump that you're experiencing right now, or is your business slow because something's out of rhythm? Because there is a difference between balance and rhythm. Balance says everything must always be equal. Rhythm says there are seasons and we need to pay attention to them. Summer might be slower, fall might be harvest. But if you're always in hustle mode, you're going to miss the signs that tell you when to sow, when to water, and when to rest. Now, I want to go deep, like literally deep, because before you panic about your fruit, you got to check your roots. Here's what a lot of people miss. God often grows us down before he grows us up. If you guys live in Texas, you know that there is nothing quite like the power of a good Texas storm. A few years ago, we had a whopper. And the next day I was driving to work and you could see the evidence of the power of the storm everywhere. There were fence panels blown down, there were tree branches in the street. And then I look over on the side of the road and there was this ginormous tree. Like this tree was really old. Because you can tell because it was so massive, right? I would say the trunk of that thing was probably 3 feet from side to side. It was ginormous. And the whole tree had totally blown over, like from the roots blown over. You could see part of the roots sticking out of the ground, except what struck me was there really were no roots. They were very short and stubby, and they looked like they were trying to be roots, but they weren't really roots. And that was all that was holding this giant tree in the ground. And when the storm came, the roots were just not enough to keep it upright. And as I was driving, the Lord impressed in my heart that this is like so many of us. Either we never take time to really grow roots, like spiritual roots, business roots, relational roots, or we keep growing up and up and up and don't pay attention to our roots and they rot. Either way, eventually you're going to fall over. The root growing season, it can feel like a grind. Maybe it could feel like complete silence, like, hello, God, hello, are you still there? But here's what I know. It can look like a whole lot of nothing is happening on the top side during a root growing season, but underneath, when you're in that season and you're surrendering to it, magic is happening. The roots are growing deep and you're getting strong. And this is what you want. Some of you guys need to stop refreshing your sales dashboard and start refreshing your soul. So here's how you know you're in a root growing season. Maybe you feel the pull to slow down. Even though everything around you says go harder, you need to just rest. Maybe you sense God is saying wait, but you haven't really wanted to listen. Or maybe you've been pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, and you have not taken time to pour back into yourself, and you are close to running on empty. Friend, rest is not the enemy of progress. It's the fuel for it. That needs to be on a bumper sticker and a t-shirt and a hat and all the things. Rest is not the enemy of progress. It's the fuel for it. This is the time to sit with the Lord and ask, what are you speaking to me that I haven't made space to hear? Where am I building out of fear and not faith? If this is you, friend, if this is you in a root growing season, I would love to pray for you. Will you reach out to me and let me know? My info's in the show notes, or you can find me on the contact page of my website, jantouchberry.com. All right, take a deep breath. This has been a lot. I know, kind of a heavy episode, but I want to leave you with 3 questions to ask the Lord in your time with him. I hope you're having time with him. And these questions, they've really saved me in a dry, discouraging root growing season. So, number 1, am I aligned with what you, God, ask me to build? Not just what's trending, not what your favorite coach is doing, what God told you to build. Okay? Number 2, what is the next small, faithful step? I listen to a coach on YouTube a lot. His name is Jamie Winship, and he asks 2 questions. God, what do you want me to know, and what do you want me to do? So when you're praying, Lord, what do you want me to know about the next step, and what do you want me to do? It doesn't have to be some big sexy strategy, okay? It's just the next act of obedience. Maybe it's just batching your emails. Maybe it's sitting and resting. Maybe it's reworking your offer. I don't know. It doesn't have to be big. It's just listening to him and taking the one next step, all right? And then number 3, what does obedience look like this week? Not for the whole month, not for the 6-figure launch plan, just this week. What would faithfulness look like today? Remember, friend, obedience is never wasted, even if it doesn't show up in your Stripe account right away. Obedience is the win. God does not measure success by your metrics. He measures it by your faithfulness to him. So if it's slow right now, if it's quiet, if it feels like you're doing all the right things and you're still waiting, I urge you, don't quit. Don't burn it all down. Don't spiral into shame. Instead, ask, am I being faithful? Am I listening? And am I letting my roots grow deep in the waiting? Because when the rain comes, and it will, you'll be ready. You got this, friend. You're not behind. You're being built for something bigger. So let's just keep walking it out, you and me. Strategy in one hand, obedience in the other. Have a great week. Thanks for joining me for another episode of Her Faith at Work. If the Lord put someone on your heart that you think needs to hear this message today, will you just smash that share button? And if you haven't already followed the show, I would love for you to do that. Super extra points if you hop over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review. That helps the algorithm pick us up and drop us right in the AirPods of people that need to hear what the Lord is saying to them today. I hope you'll come back for the next episode of Her Faith at Work. The podcast comes out every Wednesday. And if you look down in the show notes, I've even got a couple of free downloads for you that I think you will really enjoy. With that, have a great week. See you next time.